Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Jester Gems of War event, in which the Court Jester is added to the game. If you're on the Nintendo Switch version, the other version will be in the top right corner underneath the eye icon. For everyone else, let's get into this. So, of course, Court Jester, this thing is basically just like a Hellcat. As far as his trait stones, you would use him primarily for, the trait stones, primarily on Herdmaster. Earlier on in the game, and later on in the game, you'd put it on the buffed up Vanessa, Divine Ishbala, the new Vanya from the most recent faction, as well as just any mythics that will require it. As far as this troop, as I just mentioned, it is basically just a different version of Hellcat. There are two different locations that you may throw it, depending on how the board is set up. One is either one of the four corners, because that would give you the highest chance of actually landing an extra turn, assuming there's skulls there, or just simply hit wherever there are the most skulls. And so end up creating a bunch of reds. You get 5 reds onto the board, plus a 2 additional one for every single skull you end up hitting. If you end up hitting about 3 to 4 skulls, you should have a pretty good chance of landing an extra turn, regardless of where you aim it, and even higher if you can get it on one of the outskirts of the board, because it mixes all the gems. It basically just makes the board smaller, kind of like how a deep borer cast does, whenever you cast it all the way to the right or left, and it just gives you the highest chance of actually landing an extra turn, assuming there's some skulls there. His traits are pretty average, just like Hellcat's, and for the most part, I'm pretty sure Hellcat is just going to be used instead of this Court Jester, which is quite unfortunate, because this troop's most likely just going to become dead content. However, you can half mana start this, whereas you can't currently with a Hellcat. Well, actually you can. You'd have to use, well, you can't do a Daemon bonus, but you can do Hellcat with Forest Guardian. The only issue with that is Forest Guardian normally doesn't have much of a need for reds, nor many other beasts, whereas there are humans, if you use a half mana start on humans, that do require reds. So this might be a little bit better in that regard, but for the most part, it's pretty much always just use Hellcat instead of this thing. Anyways, that's that little guy. Let's go now into all of the event-related stuff. It is Easter this weekend, so we do have 50 extra souls for whenever we end up finding a bunny in PvP and Explore, so that can add up to be a decent amount of extra souls throughout the week. We have 10% to all knights, as well as 10% to all humans, many of which are human knights, so that's quite a few troops this week with 20% bonus. We get 400 extra gold whenever we do use the Court Jester in PvP and Explore, so if you are using a team that does use Hellcat to some degree, probably just replace it with the Jester this week, as you're pretty much just getting free gold. You can also simply just use this in Explore to farm a bunch of gold, which is probably the better idea. And similarly, our goal this week is just to kill a bunch of browns in PvP or Explore. Quickest way to be just to combine the two together, go someplace like Hazel that has a lot of browns, and simply use a quick Sunbird team with a Jester, or even just remove the Jester if you want to go a little bit quicker. But of course, Jester this week does give that 400 additional gold, and those 50 extra souls off the bunny can be spotted within Explore. Unfortunately, I didn't get one here, but those extra 50 souls can be found here as well. But we'll simply do that, throw down Sunbird, and that is pretty much that. Just cast it out if it will ever end his turn. How is this still your turn? There we go. And that is that, and you can run that with any hero class and pretty much any weapon as well. It's basically just Firebomb into Sunbird and win for the most part, and Jester's is here to create reds, which will feed right into the Sunbird and whatever your hero weapon might be set as. And that's pretty much all you have to do to kill a bunch of browns and to get a bunch of gold this week. So, event keys. Of course, we have event keys changing every single Monday. As far as what we currently have, it's all of the Sword's Edge troops. To be able to see what they are, just click on Sword's Edge and click Show All if you don't already own all of them. And there is not too many things that are worth going for this week, so probably a good week to skip event keys. However, you do likely want to open event keys until you own a Queen Jezebel. Queen Jezebel is by far the most viable thing within this kingdom, and it's also going to be particularly useful for both the invasions this week as well as for the Thursday event this week. Basically, just synergize her with hero using Mang, throw down your Mang to gain a bunch of attack, and then she deals damage based on one of your allies' attack. So you basically just keep throwing this onto your hero and one-shotting essentially everything. So really, really good combo, and will be, even if you don't use it outside of this event, it'll be insanely good this week in that synergy. And overall, just with her mana accumulation, she is used occasionally, here and there, very rarely. But Mang into Jezebel can basically solo anything that you would ever need to do. So, yeah, decent combo to have. Of course, more often than not, you would go Mang into Apothecary, but due to restrictions this week, it's most likely just going to be Mang into Jezebel. There's also a few other things that are somewhat noteworthy about this kingdom. You could end up getting Champion of Anu, which is required to upgrade the kingdom, occasionally used in Blue Guild War. Knight Coronet's a pretty good early game option if you happen to not have him yet. Sir Gawain is pretty good in Guild Wars, as well as just as a summoner for the Thursday event that's going to be occurring, so you don't lose any points during it. And that is pretty much it as far as this kingdom is concerned. And I guess maybe like the Vanguard. But yeah, this kingdom's pretty underwhelming for the most part, so great week to possibly skip event keys, but you do likely want to, at minimum, get Queen Isabel if you don't already own her. We'll go over the invasion event for last. Let's go now over to the Tuesday event. We have Sea of Sorrows. We have a new little bunny pet thingy for Easter, completely cosmetic, that's coming out on Wednesday. Thursday, as I mentioned, we have the Night event coming out. You'll be restricted to the Sword's Edge Knights. So basically, there's Queen Isabel, Sir Gawain, stuff like that, as far as what you'd be able to use. And we have a bounty hunter this Friday that's going to be bringing in a new bounty troop for the Sword's Edge Kingdom. And that'll also be, of course, the first time that we have potions available in Bounty Hunter. As far as the Soul Forge, there is one very obvious thing that is worth crafting this week, and that is Fairish Ra, the best soul gainer in the game. He's basically like Cedric Sparklesack, except for souls instead of gold. He has the highest soul bonus in the game by an excessively large margin. Normally, you'd only be able to get a 50% necromancy, whereas he has 150%, 3 times higher than what you would normally be able to get. And this does stack, and it does stack additively. I mean, yeah, it does stack additively. So if you have 2 of them, that is a full 300%. So that is a lot of extra souls that you could end up getting on top of what you're already getting throughout your other soul bonuses. So, yeah, you normally use this with something like Dragon Soul, double Fairish Ra into Umbra Wolf, or a Dragon Soul, Fairish Ra, any Necromancy, Umbra Wolf, or Hero set as Purple Storm in last slot. There's a lot of different soul combinations they can end up doing, and most teams with Fairish Ra easily get over 20,000 souls per hour, and with 2 Fairish Ras in the correct teams just spamming it in challenges, you can get pretty much upwards of 50,000 souls per hour, depending on your bonuses. So, highly advised to get at least 1 copy of him before you ever go on your soul grind, as he will save you dozens of hours throughout farming millions of souls. So, highly advised to get 1, possibly even 2 eventually, as you basically get savings up to 2. You don't really ever need 3 or 4, but the first 2 that you ever get end up saving you the most amount of time when it comes to soul farming. Other than that, there are 2 other ones that are somewhat okay to get. Guard's Avatar for a kingdom upgrade, you wouldn't really use it much, same as Yasmin. Wouldn't really use the troop too much, but it is required for Forest of Thorns, whereas Guard is for White Helm. So you might want to consider those 2. Other than that, as far as legends are concerned, maybe High King Iron Gut. He's occasionally used for Guild Wars and is okay in Dwarf teams. He's half mana start to all of them. However, I probably wouldn't go out of my way for it. And basically, only thing I would say absolutely 100% worth it this week is, of course, Fairish Ra. Anyways, all the invasion stuff. We have quite a few things with it. Actually, before I do, there's one team I did want to go show. Since we're actually not doing anything in PvP over here, I wanted to go show the Knight class event. So, of course, on Thursday, if you're going to be running that, you can run Main, Queen Isabel, Sir Gawain, and another Queen Isabel. And if you don't happen to have 2 Queen Isabels, the replacement for that would end up being probably a Knight Coronet. I actually didn't double check. Let's see. To be able to see all the troops that you can use on this day right now, all you'd have to do is go click under Knight, click under Sword's Edge, and then click Show All. And this would bring up every single option that you would have available for this Thursday event. So the other replacement would probably actually be Lady Mirana, oddly enough. Because you'd be able to get the excess blues that you wouldn't have, or since you'd only have 1 Queen Isabel at that point, you would get the extra blues. While Lady Mirana is a legend as well, she's a lot easier to obtain. All you have to do is throw shards at the crypt, and you'd end up being able to get her. She's not in event keys, same as all the other crypt troops. However, just throwing 1,000 shards, probably even less, would pretty much just give you a copy if you don't already have. So you could probably just run with something like that and use her instant kill at around 20 to 30% chance or so in order to take out the bigger enemies. And that's what you would end up using for the class event this Thursday. Anyways, invasions. That's one of the bigger things that ended up happening. This is the first invasions that has access to potions. They didn't place it extremely annoyingly. However, they did place the set somewhat further, or it was pretty far. It wasn't as far as the other one where it was all the way at the last tier. But it's all the way at tier 5, which normally you wouldn't really buy up to. I would say for the most part, most people buy up to tier 3 or 4. I personally go up to 4 and then just use an orb to get the invasion troop max. I did, as you can see, buy up to 5 this week just to get that set, and I probably will be in the future. Keep in mind when it comes to these portraits and these emoji sets that come off of these gem purchases, keep in mind that they will be obtainable in the future for a small amount of gems, probably even less gems than that of which they would cost during the event. However, that will happen like 2 to 3 months after the fact. Most of these emojis, of course, are completely pointless, same as the portraits. They're all just cosmetic and mainly for completionists. But if you do go up to tier 5, this is ends up going for another 350 gems just to be able to reach it compared to tier 4. And it does allow you to use multiple of the troop. During a raid week, I'd probably say it isn't really that worth going up to tier 5, even though I probably still will just for the pack. However, during invasions, it actually isn't too bad to go up to tier 5 since you are allowed to use multiple. Basically, you can just throw a Ascension Orb on it so you don't have to spend another 500, a single 1 blue orb on it, and then you'll have 5 copies of it that you can use for the event. So you can end up setting 2 or even 3 of them onto your team, which for invasions is applicable simply because you eventually reach the point where it'll do 5 times skull damage to every single one of your enemies. So compared to raids, it actually is viable to have multiple copies of it, whereas during raids, you would normally just stop at tier 4. But anyways, of course, we have all those extra potions. They still do the same thing as always. They're still at the exact same spots, with the best 2 pretty much being the first 2, the enchant and the explosion. Weapon is okay, not really the greatest of things, just because knights are kind of average, but it does create a pretty good color. It creates blue and reds for knights, so definitely one to get. Of course, pretty much every new weapon that ever comes into the game should consider getting, as there is no way to reobtain old weapons. So whenever one of them becomes good, you'd want to make sure you have them. They will be adding some feature for that in the future, but as it currently stands, yeah, you pretty much just want to get every weapon that ever comes into the game, particularly ones from raids and evasions, because they're never going to be coming back again, or at least not in the current system. But anyways, yeah, really good combination to feed knights up with. Not really any excessively good synergies for it at the moment. As more knights come into the game, or if we get a better knight hero class, because knight hero class is pretty abysmal, it'll probably become a little bit more viable in time. So it's one of those weapons kind of like Divine Protector, where it was useless initially and then became really good. So that's potentially what could happen with that weapon as well. Anyways, I wanted to show 2 teams real quick just for throwing these down. First up is one that's a little bit more general and affordable. It is Mang, the event troop for this week. Sir Gawain and Queen Jezebel. Of course, the Mang Queen Jezebel combo itself could pretty much solo all of these if we really had to. We also have this new Easter Tower for this week, as you can see. This basically just summons just does a little bit of damage and summons dragon eggs every single time it casts, so it's going to be a little bit annoying since it does have a summon, but as long as you deal with it, you won't really, or kill it quickly, you won't really have to deal with a summon. Probably want to aim for it initially because it does have a decent amount of armor, and you can just throw your poke at that. Of course, we have enchant, so we get our mana up a lot quicker than we normally would, and we'll just go for a blue or green here, both of which we don't have, so fine, we'll just take a brown, get our barrier back. We can go kill that tower right now if we want to. I think I'm going to go for a skull instead, though, and just keep poking them down, and go from there. Go, and I guess we'll kill out the egg tower just to make sure it doesn't get any summons in here. Definitely don't want that happening. Go grab the last of that, take our skull there, and that is actually a little bit short of getting a kill, but we'll do it. We can then clean it up with Queen Jezebel for a little bit of extra attack, and at this point, one more skull should do it. Actually, we could even just kill it with the ability right there. He does end up stealing a quarter of their armor, and then just does his normal damage. He does not get boost ratioed from that quarter, though, but he does steal a quarter of their armor, and then he does his normal amount of damage times 5, of course, or times 3 or 4 or 5, depending on what his ascension is. That's only 2 towers. But there is another way that we could do this. If you did buy the packs a little bit deeper, the other thing that you can end up rolling with is go into double or even triple of the Sir, and just put that in there, the Sir Ebonheart, and change the banner up accordingly. Let's see, where did the banners go? Banner, banner, banner. Banner am I even looking for right now? I believe it was the... Well, there's a couple different ones we can go here, depending on which way we want to roll it. But I believe we'll go with that. And now we can roll this with either Earth's Fury or a Mountain Crusher. I'm just going to run it with Mountain Crusher since I know a lot of you probably don't have Earth's Fury. So let's go with Mountain Crusher there. And that's basically our team. Sir Ebonheart, double Sir Ebonheart. Earth's Fury, ideally, but if you don't have it, use Mountain Crusher. And Queen Jezebel. And we'll basically just get this team rolling, get Mountain Crusher down to feed all of our mana that we need. The Queen Jezebel attack buff will do a little bit of damage to it, as well as increasing the attack, which we'll be able to use to hit towers harder. And we just keep casting these abilities to kill out all the towers. And with 2 of them, we can easily focus down a single one, especially once we reach the point where they will actually survive. And do keep in mind, we do have 25% scroll reduction, since we can go far enough, get up to the armored potion right there. And it also has 25% scroll reflect, both of which stack into each other. But anyways, let's go to this real quick. And of course, we're just using it with standard Titan. A few other hero classes you could use too, but of course, Titan's pretty much always the best to go. We have that one extra explosion, which works pretty good. It kind of works like a little mini Possessed King, since it gets those explosions, more explosions on top of your explosions that you are already getting. So right here, we'll take the red, get his ability up, wait on the Mountain Crusher, and just throw a poke for now. And we should be able to still one-shot them at the current range that we're at, but of course 2 of them will allow you to one-shot any of them, or, you know, hitting it twice for the one-shot, both of them casting. So we'll go for that. It doesn't currently have enough damage to kill the first slot out, but we'll just go poke all of them once, throw that at it, and that will give us Mountain Crusher off the little bit of mana that she gives to all of our allies. And then we just explode or use Earth's Fury and then kill it out with any of our options. And yeah, does it keeps gaining higher attack, which does get multiplied by the 3, 4, 5 times multiplier, assuming you have it fully traded. And that does extra damage to the towers. And of course, once you reach 4 towers, that is going to be a lot of extra damage that you can end up utilizing. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you all have a wonderful Easter later this week. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And I will catch you all later. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone!